Call the Village of Lake Park, January 14th, 2025, council meeting to order. Councilman Steve Tudor will lead us in the invocation.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you with gratitude in our hearts. Thank you for the many blessings you have given us, for the privilege of living in this wonderful place called Lake Park, and for the leadership of our mayor, council, staff, and neighbors. We're grateful for those who protect us both here at home and far away. We ask for your blessings upon them and for your protection to surround them. Father, we lift up our neighbors who are facing challenges. We ask that you grant them peace, strength, love as they navigate their journeys. We lift up Mark and his family with the passing of his mom. We ask that you provide them with many wonderful memories and peace. As we gather tonight, we pray that you open our minds and hearts to receive the information shared. May our action, words, and decisions reflect your grace and our relationship with you. Guide us, Lord, as we carefully evaluate the options before us. Help us weigh the pros and cons with wisdom and discernment, always considering what is best for our village. We believe you have placed each of us here at this time for a purpose. Use us to carry out your plan. Above all, we pray that the decisions we make tonight are pleasing to you and align with your will. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment, Lori Strawberry.
Okay, I'm here a little bit early this year. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out some of these dates. You guys mind if I sit while we talk? Okay, I'll sit.
Have it.
Go right ahead.
All right, so I guess we need to start with, asking, beginning on May 2nd, through October 31st, Friday night, if we can close Meeting Street for Food Truck Fridays, like we've been doing for the past few years. That would be the first question.
What hours you want to do that?
Usually we close up at 4 until about the latest is 9. Because on time the trucks kind of,
And did you say through October 31st, Halloween night?
well, I'm gonna play that one by ear. Probably not gonna have it that night. Even if we do, it'll just be one food truck, just for, people coming out. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna play that by ear. I may not be able to get a truck out here. The traffic's crazy as it is.
Yeah.
So we're gonna play that one, but I'm asking for it in advance, but I do know that that's Halloween, and I'd like a little lenience with that, and so I can play that one by ear. So every Friday, 4 to 9 o'clock for Food Truck Fridays. With the exception of May 2nd, that's the first Food Truck Friday, and that's the one that the HOA participates in. We'll have music in the park that evening. That I will need the street closed until about, I'd probably say until about 11, just so we can get everybody out of the way. I'm asking for a beer garden, but I don't know that that's gonna happen because I've not, quite honestly, not had participation in the way of help. And I'm not doing it by myself this year. So if I don't get some help, I'm not gonna do it because it's too much trouble. But I'm gonna ask for it again with some lenience and I'll keep you up to date and let you know what's happening in the weeks prior. Any questions about that? So just to reiterate, May 2nd, I'm asking for the Meeting Street to be closed from 4 o'clock until about 11. And then the other Fridays, May, June, July, August, September, and October, the street will be closed from 4 to 9. All right, there's that. Do you want to vote on that, or do you want me to continue?
One question on that beer garden. Do you want to just wait and come back? Because I know last year we approved all the beer gardens at one time. You want to wait and see if you're going to do them and then come back with those dates, or do you want us to?
Well, the only one that I'm gonna do would be that date.
Okay, so there won't be multiple like that?
No.
Okay,
No, that's it.
okay.
Well, I'll make the motion to close Meeting Street on Friday evenings from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. from May 2nd to October 31st. And you want to just make that one separately and then run the other, because we'll have different objections on that.
That's fine, and
So-
then, and your motion includes May 2nd will be till
May-
11 p.m.
And May 2nd to 11 p.m., yes.
Okay.
Yes, May 2nd from 4 to 11, after May 2nd, all Fridays until October 31st, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Joe's made a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Steve second, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And in addition, I'll make a motion that we can cordon the area on Meeting Street as previously done and following the previous rules and regulations that the council has set for the HOA to have a beer garden from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. Again, following the same regulations that we've used in the past.
Joe's made a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Jim second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. And any opposed?
Nay.
4 to 1. Motion carries. All right, Lord.
Okay, so then now let's talk about the Fall Festival. Fall Festival, this year falls on November 1st, which is the day after Halloween, which gives us a little bit of, issues because like, as Steve just mentioned, that Friday does fall on Halloween. So we won't be closing the streets, Craft and Meeting like we normally do the night or the day before, just because it'll be a nightmare. So we're gonna try and hurry and block the streets off and get cars moved Saturday morning before the festival, which begins at 2. So I guess I'm asking for the perimeter of Matheson Square to be closed. Let's say 8 a.m. November the 1st for the festival through 11 p.m. that evening. Now that's the perimeter, but there's something else I'm going to ask for, and it's a little bit different this year, but it becomes an issue every year. Lake Park Road right here next to the bell tower. Greg, the gentleman who puts the rides up, needs that closed off by Thursday morning at the latest Wednesday evening. But you still have Meeting Street, you're just closing that one little area up so you can put the Ferris wheel and the other big ride up. It's the roof or something.
One side of Lake Park Road.
Just one side.
I think if you're gonna close one side, you should close both. Especially on Halloween.
What's the part that's separated right here between the?
Yeah, I know, that you'll see people come through there and go through this side of it and things like that. I've seen it 2 or 3 times.
That, or we can put some signs.
Especially on
Enter
Halloween, I
or-
don't think it needs to be open.
I think that you're gonna have to, have barricades,
Yes, we definitely getting.
where there's no doubt that it's a barricade, road closed, boom.
Do you mean just for that street or for all of them?
I think definitely, well, I think once you close, since you're closing that one Thursday, it definitely needs the barricade.
We're not going anyway, if that's closed off, his trucks are there and the equipment's already on the street, you're not going down that street. It's this street.
Well, I
this
think the
side.
day of your event, that Saturday morning, you would be better served to close on the side of, based on what happened this year and issues that we had with people.
Yes.
You would be better served to have you some a barricade. I'm gonna say on the Miss Dee side of the crosswalk at Meeting Street.
Okay.
And, so at Meeting Street and at,
Meeting and Craft on both sides probably.
mhm. And you probably need, depending on the pleasure of council, if you block both sides here, they won't be able to get in, but where they would be able to would be down here by Miss Wings. You'd have to block there.
Well, you gotta let people get in there and put their tents and things up, right?
Right, but I'm saying, but you would have someone that would be there
Right.
manning
Talking
that.
about just little
I'm talking
barricades.
about
No
Joe
massive-
Schmo that decides
No,
they're
no,
special.
No massive barricades that has to be moved. I know what you're talking about.
Like the pressure washing guy that decided yesterday that it was 4-lane on Lake Park Road, and like to ran me off the road because I was doing the speed limit. He's special.
To go back to Steve's suggestion, I kind of think that's a good idea as well, to close both, because I did see there was gonna be an accident.
Yeah, I came from like toward Walmart this way up, and people coming this way, when they come go, they cut over and went this other way.
Yeah.
And those cars coming the way they were supposed to be, and I was like, yikes. So I'd rather close it both, especially Halloween with everybody, we got in here from outside the neighborhood.
As long as we can do that, like, that Thursday,
Yeah.
that would help us a lot.
It's fine.
But so you have, I mean, we'll put detour signs up
Yeah,
to go that way, go back around.
But you gotta use barricades on Lake Park Road. If you use cones, people are gonna duck around them all day.
yeah,
Doing that, we were
unfortunately.
putting them up, they were right there, and they were still going around them, so.
The problem is storing them.
Well, you know, that company, it would be worth checking into that company I gave you that for rental,
Mhm.
and find out, you know, I don't know what the difference is, but, and I don't know how many times you'd have to rent before you owned them, but,
Yeah, well.
You gotta store
you know,
them too,
but you
though.
gotta store them.
Yeah, when you rent them, you'll have to store them
Joe's
right
got a
and give them back.
We have one, that's like that. I think that's it
Okay, so
for the fall festival.
we're talking November 1st is the festival, what's
Yes,
and the 30th is the Thursday.
31st, well, 30th.
30th, yeah, okay. And
Yes.
at what time on Thursday did you want to close Lake Park?
Let's say 9 AM gives the buses time to go
Okay,
through.
all right, so I'll make the motion to close Lake Park Road between Creft and Creft on both sides on October 30th at 9 AM until November 1st at 11, or do we need to go into the next day for him to take down?
Yeah, it's gonna be,
To Sunday at noon for him to take down?
Yeah,
Oh,
for that road, yes.
Yeah,
Let's say Sunday at 2 o'clock on Sunday. So
that's just for Lake Park, which
Right,
others
yeah.
will be open.
Yes.
that evening.
Through November
you
2nd.
want to do that, November
Yeah,
2nd?
that sounds-
Okay, November 2nd at 2 PM?
Yep.
So I make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Joe made a motion, Steve second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries.
I'd also like to make a motion to close Creft Circle from Meeting Street to Lake Park on both sides,
Yeah, the perimeter. of
at the perimeter of Matheson Park and Meeting Street on November 1st from 9 AM
I'll
till,
say
from 8 AM till 11 PM.
I'll second.
Joe's made a motion, Steve second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Another thing, it was suggested that because it's dark and dreary and everyone's sad, that maybe we could have a couple of food truck Fridays between now and May, maybe one or two, just to boost them around in the neighborhood. I would like maybe one Friday, once I can get it coordinated with the truck, just to close Meeting Street, nothing else, no other entertainment or anything. I'd like your permission to do that, and I would probably be in touch with Jerry as far as what day that would be. So I don't know what I'm exactly asking. I'm going to Food Truck Friday some point between now and May. One or two.
Can we make an open motion to allow this with 48 hours notice to the mayor or for up to 2 Fridays between now and May 1st? Because second's when the
Yeah.
other starts.
Yeah, I think you can make any kind of motion you want to.
Okay, then let's make that motion.
That's
I'll make a motion
That was
that,
not
Second.
well articulated.
Joe's made a motion, Steve second. Sri, you got the motion?
yes, sir.
you can make that sound good, right?
Any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I think that's it. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Ladies,
thank you.
you guys have fun.
You're welcome to stay the rest of the meeting.
You know what? I think I have stuff.
Maybe since you didn't answer, your sister call her.
In the packet that came out, Cherie sent the minutes, and you've all seen the December 10th, both closed session minutes. Those have been approved. Is there a motion to approve the regular session minutes? Motion to approve. Jim's made a motion.
Second.
Bruce second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. approval of the consent agenda, anything?
Wait a minute. So the motion that was made was the regular session.
Mhm.
Did you mean to include your two closed sessions?
They're approved by the check boxes, are they not?
No, they have to be approved in open session.
Okay.
So
All right,
is your motion
so
okay
to
to do
approve
all
the
minutes?
Were they
open and
random, I was
closed.
checking them.
Yeah, they just seen them.
Okay, okay.
You
Yeah,
second
so
all of
I
them, Bruce?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Everybody
Sorry,
give a
I
motion.
know that, but
Okay. Approve the consent agenda, anybody want anything pulled from the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve it as set?
Motion to approve?
Jim's made a motion,
A second.
Bruce second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Changes to the agenda. The latest agenda I sent out yesterday or the day before, any additional changes, deletions or additions to the agenda. Hearing none, is there a motion, the agenda is approved as set.
I make the motion.
Steve made a motion,
A second.
Bruce second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Public safety, Heather. How you doing, sir?
So last month, we had 51 calls for service, 633 self-initiated, and 1 alarm. Looks like we had 4 car break-ins, and I think those were all the same night, at least 3 of them. Nothing really out of the ordinary besides that.
were all the cars unlocked?
I believe so.
They busted window on one, but they may have busted it anyway,
Well, was that the one on Alden?
Conifer et al. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one I did, so I don't know if that was, I don't remember if that was December.
That was the same night, because somebody posted and I went by and saw the person cleaning up the glass out there. So it's-
I think there was one a couple weeks after, like a couple weekends ago.
They might be another.
No, this was earlier on. I saw them cleaning it up that day, Jerry.
Any questions for Deputy Head?
Looks like our traffic stops have been down the last few months. Is that people just getting better?
Maybe, but I think Bailey stopped a lot of cars. He's a little bit more proactive with that than I am.
Tetro is in LiDAR or radar school right now, I believe, so I would
Yeah,
expect
that's
those
gonna,
numbers
it's
to come
gonna
up.
drop, well, that'll probably drop it for this coming month, or this month.
Right.
Yeah.
Once she's finished, is that automatic that she's on the street doing it or anything else to do?
She has to get approval from the state. And it used to take a long time because they would mail it, but now it's an email and just download it, so. It might take about a week or two,
Yeah, I just,
so it's not as bad, it used to be a couple months.
right.
So it should be ready pretty soon.
I think we still have a major, people not stopping at stop sign issue.
Well.
We were coming out of a meeting on Sunday and the car just came right through.
Yeah.
Didn't even slow down. And they got down here, this one didn't slow down, turn, they got this one, they didn't slow down, they just kept going.
Yeah, the problem is, if I sit
They
too
see
far
you
back,
sitting there.
if I sit too far back, then I lose sight of them. Yeah, I was walking out of here, this was yesterday, and I saw a car. By the time I get into the car, the only thing I can think of is I'm gonna try to get my lieutenant up here with his unmarked. Because they see my car a mile away,
Yeah.
and they, of course, I mean, I get a few that will not see me, but. I'm gonna try to get him up here to ride around in an unmarked.
This is like it's an older person and I just don't know where their mind was at. It's like they weren't focused on being stop signs. Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
Hey.
Finance officer's report.
There's
That's it.
We have the December financial reports. There's one thing during the month of December. We paid for the deputies for the first quarter of 2025, and that allowed us to complete our, I don't know the right word to say,
AARP.
to use the ARP funds to reimburse the town for that. So, you see on page 4, the total amount of $931,811.25 has been recouped. And that was a little bit weird because we don't budget with cents, but the budget was 811, but we recouped the last 25 cents too. So we've done all that, and when I report on that in April, we'll be done with it. Hallelujah. So that happened in December, which also resulted in moving $226,522.25 to the general fund.
226,000.
522.25. So that occurred. We're still early in the year. We've been bringing in a lot of our ad valorem taxes though, so we were at 72% for the current year and 70% of the stormwater fees. We've received more money since then, so we're in real good shape there. There's nothing out of the ordinary. We paid for normal services and all. So that you have the swimming, the pool report. That went out in December. And our net cash outlay was $8,715. If you add in depreciation, the total cost was $12,519.
I think one of the things that stands out to me there is we've gotten pretty close on revenues and expenses for cash on the pool. For those folks that say their tax dollars go to it, but they don't use the pool. It did, but it was only $8,700, and surely that the value of that pool brings some value to their house, I would think, so. I think that's pretty good. Any questions on that or comments or thoughts? Park and Rec will be working on pool rates in the coming months, if not this month, but they haven't seen this report yet.
Revenue was really up for the pool, wasn't it?
Okay, and then we've got the audit reports that the audit person sent over, and a couple of notes here. At the end of June, last fiscal year, we had fund balance of 2.645 million, and of that amount, 1.811 million was unassigned, which was totally available. There was no designations or anything for it. And we also had unrestricted cash of 2.142 million. The restricted cash would be Powell bill money, so that's not included in this figure here. So then when we added that other 226,000 that I just mentioned, that moves that more money in there available. So you do have a lot of money available.
Cheryl, this afternoon, I was looking on page 28 of the audit report. I think that should be committed for, the 50,000 should be committed for restrooms or picnic shelter. And then there's nothing denoting there should be 10,000 committed for the basketball court, because we got rid of the tennis court commitment and switched that to basketball court. And we put 5,000 in that in 2023, 2024, and then 5,000 this year, which obviously hasn't been done yet, but
So you're saying, how much should be committed for tennis court, nothing?
nothing. We converted that to basketball court.
Okay, so are you saying the 50,000 should be basketball court?
The 50,000, I think, is the council
Restrooms.
commitment.
Committed for picnic shelter. Retro 50 here and then 5,000 for basketball on the sheet.
Okay, so that 50,000 should be for
Restrooms.
Restrooms.
restrooms, okay.
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. I didn't go back digging, but I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was also pending getting the money.
It is, yeah, yeah.
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 Mhm.
So are you saying that, where's the 10 or 15 come in at, 10 come in at, Jeremy?
There's nothing listed for reserve.
you're
for
saying it should
basketball
be?
court. Yeah, there should be a reserve for basketball court,
I thought we spent it all last year.
It's the tennis court.
tennis
We
court.
didn't spend basketball.
Whenever we redid the tennis court,
Mhm.
we stopped saying reserve for tennis court and moved that to reserve for basketball court and cut it from 10,000 to 5,000 per year. And our first deposit into that, per the budget, should have been 2023, 2024.
So there should be 10,000?
There should be
Five.
five and then five this year. You don't do this year until the end of the year, right?
Right, so there should be 5,000 committed for basketball?
I think so.
Okay, I'll double check, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
getting a little confusing here. And then there should be the 50 for the restrooms, which is called tennis court, which is. probably
Yeah.
not right. Okay, I will double check on that.
And I didn't, that's it. I just saw that this afternoon.
Mhm.
So, because the tennis court caught my eye.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else, questions for Cheryl on the audit report, or, I don't know if you were through talking about it yet.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much over.
Any questions? Cheryl, thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
much.
Mhm.
Stormwater. Christopher Channel update, sure.
It started to rain. So it's wet. We've got to have a couple of weeks of dry weather before we can really get in there. Otherwise, we're just gonna tear up everything and it will not be productive. So if we get some dry weather in February, the contractor, I mean, everything's set and ready to go. We're on hold.
Discussion on the stormwater mapping proposal.
You know, I did just notice here, it's correct in the balance sheet. I think it's the auditor that didn't update it, so I will double check.
So, council selected Eagle Engineering for the stormwater mapping project. We made that decision several months ago. And one benefit of the stormwater mapping would come with the zoning approval of accessory structures or fences. The village would be able to reference the location of the stormwater system to ensure that items are not installed on the pipes. Another benefit of the stormwater mapping could be if drainage issues come up like Frost Court, the village would have all relevant information on the stormwater system, and if anything has been modified. We wouldn't be in the he said, she said situation with that pipe. The village would be able to quickly review the situation since we would have as-bills and be able to find a solution faster as opposed to, we've been working on this for months now. Once mapping is complete, the village will be able to access the information both electronically and with paper maps. There will be a PDF created as well as a web-based product through Pix4C. The village will have access to Pix4C through Eagle's subscription, so there'll be no cost to the village to access the file. Once the project is completed, the cost to the village to update the map at most would be a day's work. to input the information with the assumption that the village will require new projects to provide as-built information. New projects being, for example, the townhomes down there. So before they get final okay from us, they will have to provide as-built. If it's a new project, then the developer would be required to provide the as-built information. If it is a repair that the village is completing, then the village, which we already do, would hire Eagle to complete the as-built and update the information. For example, a project like Frost Court might be around $1,500 to gather all the as-built information together and to update the village map, to keep them current, because there's no reason to do stormwater mapping if you're not going to keep it current. So anything we do would be on the map.
And would they be including that with their engineering fee
Yes,
from the start? So we
From the
wouldn't have to have
start.
that separate.
Yeah. They would be asked to, and they would know the scope of the project, so they should be able to. The village is the only owner of the information. And we can use it as we see fit. And we would have, our designated point of contact would be Matt Kirshner and Amber, who's one of his assistants. The cost of the project is not to exceed $510,000, and there is a zero financing option over a 4-year period. The village also requested information if the project was paid for in full, would there be a percentage discount? If the project was paid for in full upfront, there's a 10% discount, which could result in a $51,000 savings to the village. One of the financing of $510,000 over a period of time with zero financing. Cheryl has reached out to the state, and as of this afternoon, we still had not heard back from them and the auditor. We do not believe that that's going to be a viable option, because there's nothing tangible that they could, if we defaulted, that they could come after. And Cheryl and I do not believe that they being the state is going to allow us to finance that way. I have also applied for a 50-50 grant through the North Carolina Department of Public Safety Emergency Management for fiscal year 2024. It's called BRIC, which is Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities. We will not know until January 24th if the village is going to be invited to submit a complete submission. At this point, I've put in a letter of interest. As we know, Western Carolina has been hit hard. I don't know if they, how they'll do with other projects, but we met the criteria for the initial interest, but we will not know anything until later. If we were to be asked to submit a complete grant proposal, at that point, the village is going to have to find someone to write this grant proposal. That's not in my bailiwick, guys. I can give them my information and all, but I'm not that good. And then it would go, the short list is then selected in July of 2025, and you're looking at October of 2026 before any funds would be available for any project.
Could that be as a refund to us, so to speak, if we front the money? In other words, just get it back?
That's a question I don't know. At this point, the bottom line is we'll know by the 24th of January if we even made the list to move to the next step. I would say, if not, I don't have an answer for that, because I don't know. if they would allow us to do that or not. So with all of that said, I've had several of you ask me my opinion on what I think about the mapping. And with all that has gone on with Frost Court and the legal standing and opinions that we received last month, I think to move forward with the stormwater mapping, even though of all people, believe me, you guys know I'm frugal. I know this is an expensive project. But I think for the benefit of the village, the long-term ramifications, potential ramifications are huge. One of the things that Union Water is currently doing, and I'm sure you've heard from neighbors that have said, hey, I got a letter and I'm in the water sewer easement and I've got to move my fence, and why did you send me this letter? Or why, they're assuming it's village, even though it plainly states that it's water. I have reached out to the water department, and basically what the water department is doing is they're noting on people's property. If you're in the easement, you can file an information, I'm gonna call it an information statement, and ask the resident to sign that says, we acknowledge that we're in the easement, and they're filing it with the Register of Deeds. And you can file up to 16 pages for $26 with the Register of Deeds, so that anyone that's doing a title search would know that that fence, that shed, that greenhouse, that pool, whatever it is in the easement. And it's your responsibility. That's what Union County is in the process of doing right now with, different locations. They're using an outside firm to do that. I don't know what they're paying this group, but it is an outside firm. And several of your constituents have received those letters and have reached out to the village for assistance. I know even one of your councilmen has received said letter. So it doesn't, if it's a fence, it's not a big deal. You can remove it, so you have to take down some posts or whatever. But if it's a shed and other things, it becomes a much bigger deal. What we would hope to do with that between planning and zoning is, and something that I'm coming to planning board next week with, is to start a discussion. I've talked with Vaughn Hansen with Benchmark about what can we do as a village to not have a situation like Frost Court. What can we do to minimize the financial impacts? Well, the first thing we got to do is know where they are. And right now, we have no idea. And for example, if someone has a yard inlet in their backyard and they're not keeping it clear, they contribute to the flooding of their neighbors. I've got a lady over on Alden right now that wants me to come see her because her neighbor's drain pipes are draining onto her property, and now she's got a sinkhole. Is that neighbor to neighbor or the sinkhole? I don't know. I haven't been over there yet. But is there a yard inlet over there somewhere that's blocked off that we don't know about? I don't know. So the not having as-built, there's not a municipality. Well, I take that back. Kimby Bridge may not. Most communities have as-built and are requiring any development and have been requiring any development to provide as-built. Indian Trails several years ago even with all of their development, you know, that's one of their requirements. Any developer has to provide as-built. But they spent money to have some older developments that were pre-planning and zoning for them, mapped for stormwater so that they knew what they were dealing with. And the one thing that Indian Trail came back and said is if you're doing it, go ahead and make sure that you get the condition of the pipes and do all that we have requested in our mapping so that you know the condition of the pipes and you know what's going on. All of that said, it's up to this council to decide either we're gonna move forward with this project or we're not. And that is your decision.
Why haven't we done Support House Street? Just no one ever decided to do it. I mean, the village is not new, right? So back when it was first built, was it required that you have that for Union County?
No,
Or anything?
Union County did not require, unfortunately, and I don't know the where-ins. As-built, the developer of Lake Park, of course, at that time, it was not a municipality. And Union County did not require as-built. And as a matter of fact, there are no permits that are in existence. I keep my permits since 2013 when we started permitting. I can find you an electronic copy of everything I have permitted. I don't care that the state says you only have to keep them 6 years. So that's a huge, there's nothing to know.
It would have been a great thing if they would have been required back then compared to now. Obviously, the cost would have been a whole lot less.
Yes, absolutely.
See, the thing we're running into now, Steve, when I first came on council, didn't have a whole lot of issues with sinkholes and sidewalks, et cetera, that came up. In the past, I'm gonna say 12 months, we've had more issues come up than I can even
Yeah.
remember. It's
I
just
know.
30 years in the infrastructure saying, hey, guess what? Here you go.
That's the scary thing, is
Yeah.
all the infrastructure is getting
Right.
old at the same, it's
And
all
it all-
built at one time for the most part.
And it all
Yeah.
belongs to the
This very much
village.
could be the beginning, the tip of the iceberg of what's
Right.
going on with it.
And that scares me. And spending 500 something thousand for this
It's,
is because I need that 500,000 to fix some of this
Yeah.
infrastructure.
I hear you there, but I also think that we will be able to save ourselves on a lot of projects.
Right.
When two ways with it. One, when we find out and identify problems when they are just beginning, we can do the dry pro solution, which is, a fifth, maybe even up to a tenth of the cost to repair it before we have to dig that pipe up and replace it. There's other fixes too. When I was just speaking with a friend of mine that was at the time the town engineer for Waxhaw about what we were running into with some of our stormwater pipes, he was telling me what they were doing. I said, well, and he was referring to the as-built and to, their video and knew what was going on. So we can be preventive and save a large amount of money. Will it be 500,000? I don't know. But it'll only take one or two deals where we find out that there's an encroachment on our easement that is causing a problem to pretty much level that one out. We know what that cost already with, this one situation. That's today's money. The other thing with it is too, if we identify these projects, we can budget accordingly in the future for
And
it,
if
which
we
is
were to-
huge, I think, too.
If we would have taken total up what we've spent, not counting what Frost Sport's gonna cost us, what we spent to date, including over in the middle of the townhomes there, I forget the exact number on that, that was,
Well, I can give you a number, I
Plus.
can give you a couple of numbers that are eye openers. So from 2019 to the end of the 23-24 budget year, so July of 24, we spent $436,937 in stormwater. Since July of 2024 to date, that we've actually spent, wrote the checks for, we have spent $313,172.
So to me, this mapping proposal is not only a proposal that can be done. We're then going to have a map of what's going on in our village, as Joe mentioned before, and we've talked about, and Jeremy and I have talked about. Be able to get a handle on things before they become disasters.
But with that, we're also gonna understand where our easements are, what's everything. If those, what did you call that street that was missing, that possibly missing, not draining, land draining, whatever, that goes into any of those storms, we'll find those.
Gardens and,
Yeah. We'll find all of those, so everything will be mapped out, and we'll know it. I think it's important that we do this. And additionally, they said, 510,000 with, 0 interest, but it's 10%, so there is a $51,000 interest cost.
Well, since you brought that up, I would just throw this one out real quick. As far as I'm concerned, the $51,000 is enough of it to say, hey, let's just not even worry about what, the financing end of it.
Right.
To me, it's a no-brainer. Let's,
If they're gonna get the 10% discount.
yeah, take the
Yeah,
10%.
10%.
Let's not even worry about financing anymore. Take that off the table as far as I'm concerned with it. And, does everybody else feel that way too, or?
It did me, Joe, as well, and my thought is, it's a lot of money, and how much repairs am I gonna have to do? It's something that should have been done years ago.
It should have, yeah.
I know that, Bruce, it most definitely should have been done, but like, okay, so we spent 300,000 this year or whatever. I have another 300,000 that's gonna surprise me, then where's that money gonna come from? We're gonna get to where we're not gonna have any money to put in.
Right. But if we
To
get
the-
this
to the
done,
side.
we'll be able to see things.
We'll know where we got it too.
And then if somebody's got their personal items in the middle of an easement, we've got a better leg to stand on, because they can be notified, you're in an easement. You notify them now, so they can't turn around and say, no, 20 years have gone by, I'm not doing nothing for you, which is what we're
So
into
we
right
run
now.
into it.
That's what we're into right now, basically, we've been told, don't pound rocks, I'm being very polite.
But I agree that 10% is enough to make
Yeah,
anything.
I think the 10% is a no-brainer on
Yeah,
that,
To
so.
pay it, do it all up front. If you're gonna do it all up front. It's still, it's still a big chunk of change.
With that being said, I'll make the motion to, oh, I'm sorry.
Mark hadn't said anything.
Oh, I'm
I just
sorry.
see if you-
Originally, we brought up this idea, I was pretty much against it because it was so expensive. But talking to Sheree this week, I went over to her office and we chatted for a while, and based on what I've heard over the course of the last few months, why this issue has been an issue. I'm on the side of it to go. I think it's money well spent. Understanding your argument as well, because that's where I originally.
Well, I'm not arguing that. This is what's in my
It's like
mind, right? It's like,
Would been nice if we
it
had done
needs
this
it needs
years
to be
ago, yeah.
done. Trust me, I see
But
that
it's a
it needs
lot
to
of
be
money,
done.
yeah.
It's a lot of money, but it needs to be done.
Yeah.
But, maybe we watch our other expenses and try to recover some other way. I don't know.
When I think the first time we heard about this, at least, us as a group, was when we were talking about COVID money, and you brought up the fact you'd like to map out the stormwater. And I remember talking with Jeremy saying, how do we not know where these are?
Yeah.
I mean, how do we not? And, it's amazing that there's not, like I said, Steve, you can't believe it wasn't done. Some records weren't kept of some type.
Yeah.
When
Nobody
this
ever
was
thought
done,
about it. Nobody ever
but
thought
yeah, that's hindsight's 2020, so.
And I could see also how it could, if we could get in there early, could save us money in the long run. I see that, so.
Will we recruit the whole thing? I don't know. Will it help us plan going down the road? Absolutely, and that's priceless in itself. So that we know if we have a catastrophe like what you're saying going on, we know it beforehand, so.
Yeah.
I'm for it. I think I think it'll help us out, and it'll make all of our jobs easier in the long run.
I would just like to say, I agree with everybody's point that I made a point tonight. I think they're all very valid. I talked to Cheryl yesterday. She'd asked me to call her, and it was about the financing and what Sheree had just said earlier. She didn't think that LGC was gonna allow us to do the multi-year finance. So I'd asked about a couple other options that Sheree and I had just kind of spitballed back and forth. And in talking to Cheryl, she said, well, do you think they would give you a prepaid discount? And I said, well, I don't know. They gave us their cash price up front, I kind of feel like, but who knows? And she said, well, if they'll give you 1 or 2%, 2 or 3%, save $10,000 or $15,000. doesn't hurt to ask, so I sent an email to him and asked, and, after 5 o'clock last night, he replied and said the answer, yeah, and they would do 10%, so, I was shocked, I have to say, that it could be that much savings. Called Cheryl back and thanked her and told her she could go to bed smiling. She said something about a raise when we talked later. She did, but, Cheryl, thank you, I mean, if you were right, if you don't know if you don't ask. And
450 sounds a whole lot better than 5.
Yeah, it does.
Cheryl also told me on the phone, you know, and I told her some concerns that I had heard from council of, if we spend $500,000 of the reserves, and then we have some catastrophe, and we just laid out $500,000, we could be hurt. And she agreed, although she said, you've got 1.8, 2.1, 1.8 is unassigned. You've got plenty of money to do this project, pay for it outright, and not be in any danger of your budget numbers or anything else. And she felt like that was the way to go as far as our finances. Would you agree?
Yeah, really, and, you know, and all the time I've been here, there's probably never been a better time to have that much funding available to do something like this is, you know, a great opportunity.
I'll make the motion to map the storm, or for the stormwater mapping proposal to approve it for not to exceed $459,000 for Eagle Engineering.
Second.
Joe's made a motion, Jim seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
How much did you say?
$459,000.
And then you also have to make a budget amendment.
Appropriate from
From
fund balance.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to move $459,000 from fund balance to stormwater.
I'll second.
Joe's made a motion, Bruce seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hey,
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd kind of like to make a separate account for it instead of just having it lumped in with engineering, have it specifically for the mapping.
I do have a question for Sheree, like on the map here, it says, add bills for water and sewer on file with Union County Public Works. I mean, this is for Thistle Lane, right? So is that not true, or is it, I mean, is that
I'm sorry.
it says add bills for water and sewer are on file with the Union County Public Works Department. Is that not true? I mean, is this map incorrect?
I don't.
It's the map that's out there for
That's the
Maybe
plat
add
map.
bills for
Mhm.
water and sewer.
is that for us?
no, it's this lane.
Oh, just one.
Right behind my
Sewer
house
or
there.
stormwater?
Says add bills, for water and sewer, I guess, so it's not stormwater. All stormwater drainage easements and public utility easements on right of way are considered as being
Center
located
pipe.
by being center to the pipe.
Steve, I had always heard until we sat in the closed session last month that, plat maps with easements were your holy grail.
Right, that's what I always thought.
And apparently, in the land of gray, that is not the case, which is why the county is in the process of having people sign who have built in their easements and attaching them to their deeds, which is also what the village is going to be doing.
So we'll, after we do this project, then we'll do the same thing.
But
What
Or we'll
we'll
do it
do is,
before.
once the map, when mapping is complete, depending on what comes forward to you from planning board. And I don't mind, I talked to Vaughn about like us saying that nothing with a concrete slab could not be put in our stormwater easement. First of all, we're recognizing that there are people with lots out here that are 6,000 square feet less, up to 25
Mhm.
thousand square feet. So from the standpoint, you want someone to be able to use their yard. But we're not, if we were to change the UDO through a text amendment and it say that you cannot put a concrete slab in the easement, then that would mean that it would have to be built and put on, like if you put a shed in it,
Building blocks or something.
be on blocks.
Yeah.
And so at that point, it's movable, and it's movable for the homeowner to move it, and we're going to, he's gonna sign the piece of paper saying he acknowledges that, and whatever else Ken thinks he needs to say. But that will come as we're working with planning board,
Okay.
and that will be the document that's attached
So in other words,
to,
right now, we're naked. We don't have anything that protects us.
correct, which is the situation of where we are.
Okay.
What's to force the homeowner to sign this?
Well, moving forward, if they don't, that's actually a good question, and one of the legal questions that our attorney will be talking to the water department as to what happens when people don't sign their easement letters. But for us, anything that's going in that easement, if you want the permit to do it, you're gonna have to sign that agreement so we can, and that fee will have to be included in,
But it's from this point forward, any
For-
changes.
for the village on one side. Then we can look at this stormwater and go back and say, hey, you have a 20-foot garage that's on my stormwater easement. You either remove it or
Sign it.
you sign it.
And it puts them on notice anyhow.
That's right.
Problem, yeah.
That was with in case you didn't notice, I'm a council member that got the letter from the water company.
Yeah.
About the easements, and my phone call was pretty much, when I talked to the guy there, that, we'll let you keep it here as long as you agree to the fact that it's, that it's there and you acknowledge
Do you
it,
still
so,
have the correspondence, because I'd like to see it.
I do.
Do you mind scanning it?
Yes, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
It's just the original letter, it's actually from an engineering firm in, I think Huntersville,
I'm interested to see
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
see the content.
and there's not much that's accurate with it either. so-
No.
Is that right?
Yeah. oh,
Yeah, it's
pretty poor.
horribly written.
Uh-uh.
It is not a good representation for the county at all.
Yeah, I see it, I see it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
If you have an easement, I would think you might wanna consider, yeah, they could put a shed on blocks or something, and then you get a hurricane, that shed's gonna go.
Well, it will have to be, they would have to, it'll have to be fixed,
You
but you're
might
not
wanna
gonna
not
let
have
them.
them in your easement.
Well, and that would be a decision that council would have to make at that point. Moving forward, but one of the things, it's very hard for constituents to understand, I own this piece of property. And you're gonna tell me that I can't put XYZ on my piece of property? That's a very hard pill to swallow. My dad was from Alabama, and believe me, he felt like, I own this, you leave me alone. But,
Do what they wanna do on property they don't own. So, it's.
If it's on the deed, they know exactly what they want.
that's right.
That's right.
So if it's attached to the deed, going forward, they would be able to say, oh, well, this. So I don't know, but planning board will be working on some things. I didn't mean to get off track.
No,
but
that's
Planning
perfect.
boards will be working on some things that will come to council. And Ken and I will be working on some.
The experience I've had too I worked a lot with this in Wesley Chapel, was that surveyors sometimes put the easements on it and sometimes they don't. And, they're certified and all that, but we definitely, because we had pre-save easements where they weren't supposed to cut trees and stuff, and they would routinely leave that out. They'd even leave out, flood zone information. So,
All right, anything else on that project? 5304 Frost Court, pipe reroute and repair, should we?
Okay, sorry. All right. Okay, so in working with Eagle Engineering, KC Site Concepts, and Drive Pro, the repair that's being recommended, and we do know up front that we've not seen the agreement from the attorney's office. But so we would repair, there's two repairs going on. We've got a repair at the curb inlet on Frost Court and rework the catch basin bottom and regrout all of that on the street. Then we have the area where the sidewalk is floating. And so Drive Pro would address the sidewalk repair, that's $1,600. KC Concepts on the first is $4,000. Then we had Drive Pro and KC Site Concepts quote filling the pipe that's broken. And Eagle is recommending that we go with Drive Pro to do the soil injection of the broken pipe, and that's $11,581. And then the reroute, which is the red line that you all have seen and looked at last month. And Steve, if you need to see that, I have extra copies I'll be glad to share with you. We would be upsizing the pipe from 18 inches to 24 inches, installing new yard inlets, easy for me to say, removing existing pipe connection and patch the hole. There are two small trees behind the rear fence that'll have to be taken down. Backfill, seed, and straw is $65,000. It was recommended by Eagle that we at least look at the stormwater drainage ditch that runs the length of Frost Court all the way to the pond. Because one of the things that is going on is that water is not moving through there. It has been a number of years. And we have trees, Jeremy and I have been out there and looked, and I have trees that are 8 to 10 inches in diameter, and I have trees that are 24 inches in diameter. And it's a lot of under shrubbery and briars, and it's all
It's a bigger
overgrown.
mess than you can imagine.
It is. Now, the beauty is we're going to be able, when we go in on Frost Court, because where Tim Balcom used to live, right here at the corner, the ladies, when they put up their new fence, they decided to clear, it's their property, but we have a utility easement there. So we're going in on the back side, which the drainage ditch is before the fence that's got to come down. And we have provided the property owner over there with a list of things that he will need to take down before we do the work. But it was.
The property owner on Frost Court.
Yes, he's got to take down 11 fence panels, 5 on one side and 6 on another. He's got to remove some planting sites, some miscellaneous equipment and stuff will all have to come out of the easement. But he will be receiving in the letter from the attorney a very detailed, and he knows what they are, list of items that will have to be removed.
They met him in person to label those out.
Yes.
So he was-
Do we also inform that he can no longer let his pool wash out into the water like he was doing before? Whatever he's doing, like washing his pool out or whatever?
No. I don't know about that one, but,
You're the one that told us about it, so.
no, I've got that one over on, Balsam. But anyway,
Once all that pipe is replaced, Steve, whether he washes it out into that outlet or not, is not gonna
It's
cause
gonna-
an
it's
issue.
gonna carry it
It's
out.
all rebuilt.
but anyway, so to address the storm drainage ditch, which there's 192 feet of clearing that needs to be done before you get to a section that's, so let's say 200, basically 200 linear feet that needs to be cleared before you get to houses that don't have any overgrown brush and trees and everything, is 65,000.
65,000?
Mhm. And a lot of that is a tree company coming in to remove the trees because it's not, and then grading will have to be done.
Is that on our property or on the homeowner's property?
It's in the easement.
Well,
It's like
so it's the
Christopher
homeowner's
Channel's.
property, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Christopher Channel and Hoover Channel and there's not a property back there that doesn't have through the overgrown section.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a fence. So they're cleaning to their fence, but they're not using all of their property.
I lived back there for years before I even knew that area was there. So a dog went back there, I had to go get a dog.
And then-
It's a mess.
Eagle Engineering's oversight of the entire project is $9,600. So bottom line, if we did the 2 repairs at Frost and the channel, you're looking at $156,700.
That 9,600 for Eagle, that includes everything they've done to date, or that's to oversee this part?
That's everything, that's everything now forward.
Okay. One of the things that I talked to Sheree about is that channel back there, and this is one of the reasons we went over there today to look at it. Well, I wanted to see it for myself. The engineers had said, Matt said this in the meeting we had at their place, that that channel itself is not draining, which is participating in the reason Frost Court is flooding. So you've got all these problems with the pipe, plus when it gets out of there, eventually it'll flow when it gets enough water that it forces it, that it has to go somewhere. But he had said early on that that channel probably needed to be mucked out, maybe is the word you used. So I was envisioning something like Christopher Channel, an open channel that you'll just go there and grade back. And then when I started hearing the pricing, and then included in that 65,000, like Sheree said, probably a third of that is tree service. I just had to see how many trees were there, and I was shocked at how bad it is, and it can't flow right, and they can't shape it right, I don't think, without taking it all out and doing it. It will end up looking like Christopher Channel, essentially, not concreted, obviously. But I think it would behoove us to fix all that other stuff and then leave that channel the way it is.
So how do we keep that channel clean from here on out if we do that?
Well, we can try just like with Christopher Channel and Hoover Channel. We go back there every 6 months and we send letters and send them violation letters, and we can attach a $200 violation fee if they choose to not maintain what's theirs on their, what's theirs going down the channel.
So why haven't we done that with the channel before now? I mean, we've let it go all this time, so now you go tell somebody they gotta keep it clean once we clean it out. I mean,
Well, yeah,
That should get related to out of sight, out of mind, just wasn't thought of, wasn't looked into, now that we're,
Once we map them, we'll know where they're at.
no, now that we're running
well,
into
and
all the
actually, that's
problems.
something that You know, once they are mapped,
Yeah.
there's gonna be places where we're gonna say.
We'll have a list of stuff and that I imagine we'll have a list of stuff that says, these are projects you've got to do. These are projects you need to do, and these are projects you might want to do.
You know, keep them on your bucket list. It's like, Charlotte Meck has an ongoing project list, and they'll tell you up front when you call them. Cause I had called about a year before we decided to sell ours. There's a stormwater easement back there, which Mike always kept clear, but the riprap that the city had put in 25 years ago was covered in sediment and everything, and they came out and they said, thank you for your interest, Miss Clark. You're probably 10 or 12 years on the to-do list. What I pay in stormwater, I think I guess.
Yeah, I'm not saying, it doesn't need to be- I'm just saying, how do we keep it clean? If we're spending 65,000,
We're gonna
we're
have
saying
to
it's the homeowner's
address it.
responsibility. Well, is it their responsibility to clean it up now?
You'd be hard pressed.
And it's gonna be hard pressed to be able to do it in the future too, I think, because they haven't done it so long.
You know, Steve, totally open to how the council would decide to manage that. Is it actively being,
I think
what is the perceived as not the good neighbor, but actively perceived as being hard-nosed about keeping them clear? That's gonna be the direction of council.
I think it's probably like Christopher Channel and Hoover Channel. If you go back and look at minutes when Hoover was done, I mean, that was a huge project that was in the backyards of everybody over there, and they, I mean, I don't know that it was that bad, but I know looking at the minutes, there were people who didn't want it done because they were gonna have to maintain it, and then it was said in the minutes that once it was cleared, it would be up to the residents.
Up to the
maintain it.
individual residents to, you know, maintain their section, and for the most part, they do pretty good. We still have to go over there because of, you know, just usage, but we've done better over there than any other channel.
Yeah, I think it's something we clean it out. We gotta keep our eye on it because, as you say, hit them up with a fine or something. They're not cleaning it out.
Clean it out, and then you let the individual residents know that you have cleaned it out, and in the future, it is your responsibility to maintain this. It will not be done again if you don't. And if the village has to pick up the tab, we're gonna fine you for it.
Fine or special assessment.
Yep.
Well, that would be, you know, pleasure of council. For the most part on Hoover, the channel is 50% on each person's property. On Frost, I don't think it's quite that, it's not that clear. So that will be interesting to see how that channel goes through there, and hopefully with some, I'm gonna use the word overlay, we can say, you know, you're going to need, the entire channel is in yours, or, you know, up to the left side of the bank, if we're standing here facing it, is yours, or, you know, whatever. I think we would have to provide clear guidance as to what you are responsible.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we're gonna have it as council and the village, you're gonna have to stay on top of it. in the future
Yeah, absolutely.
And not let it get as bad as we've let it get now.
A big part of it is everybody knowing too, 'cause honestly, a large part of this started with the homeowner at 6304 approaching Jeremy and I about that channel. He thought it was on village property. He didn't even realize it was on his own property. He thought that was on village property.
Education, I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of it, right?
Yes,
You might want to have like a public forum or whatever, and invite people to come in.
which we did when we did Hoover Channel. We had, the engineer was here, and we invited all the homeowners to come and ask their questions, and that's when we talked about the repair and what it was gonna look like and what the expectations were.
That might be an opportunity to also explain why you had to spend so much money, because, you know, some people will.
I think you should go
You
back to
shouldn't
them
spend
and tell
any
them that
money, kind of.
we've been getting these 10% discounts you pay up front, so give us a.
Anything else?
So, Sheree, are you seeking $160,000 to defrost wall?
Yes, as long as the legal side is handled.
Okay, you're pointing to me.
I know it's
I'm
not
not the
you.
legal.
I know, but you represent that
Mr.
dude.
Tosco is
Yes,
the legal side.
I mean, as long as,
What I had. put
I
in-
recommend, I've had my own concerns about whether or not there's been where a finalized agreement's been orchestrated. I think that's being worked on. I think that they on vacation or something like that. He plans on getting to it the first part of next week, if I remember correctly. But I do think that is an important component. But I would obviously defer to him.
Yeah, I was, and this is what I had talked with Nick about, which he was fine with, as long as council was fine with this, is if we approve the repairs, the reroutes, repairs, whatever you wanna call it, we wouldn't initiate any of that until the homeowners have signed the documents that are negotiated.
Contingent on them signing the
And
paper.
he would work on a first shot at those Monday, he said. We can get those sent out to everybody for comments, send back any comments that, you know, I don't know that I'll have any comments, because he's the legal world and he's gonna write it on our behalf, but maybe we see something that we don't like. Send in comments, let him get a final draft, send it out, if everybody's good with it, we let him proceed with negotiating that with their attorney.
Well, I think the other side, that's gonna be 2 or 3 weeks out, right? To get all that done, documented, signed off on.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So why don't we wait till next month to do this 156,000, because we're not gonna start off before then anyway. It's only 4 weeks out or next month.
The only thing we would do, the clearing of the back channel has nothing to do with their property. And Kevin did say today, he would like to clear that and do it in 2 stages, clear it so that it can start drying and then come in and grade.
there's so much, there has to probably be 6 to 8 inches of standing water back there. And I didn't get right up on it, but it's gonna take a little bit. You're not gonna be able to grade till it dries out, so.
I mean, we can wait, I think all signs point to the party's gonna agree. I mean, in fact, they have said they're agreeable to the terms that were written.
Yeah, nothing's done to sign, but the other side of that, you could break it up into 2 projects, right? Clean the channel on the back that you want to. It's just, I think as soon as you clean, you need letters going to those homeowners saying it's your responsibility to keep this clean. If not, there's gonna be fines and penalties associated with it. We're cleaning it this time.
So do you want so for $65,000 to clean, I don't know, what do they call, what do we call on that channel?
Frost.
Frost channel? So you're looking for 65,000 into stormwater to clear frost channel? That can be scheduled and get moving prior to.
We could also be, it would be my recommendation to go ahead and approve the whole project, because Dry Pro could be fixing the sidewalk where the issue
And
is,
that's- yeah.
somebody falling in it. Kevin could be fixing the box,
Yeah,
because that's got nothing to do with their property. So it'd be I would recommend that we just approve the project.
Approve it, we have
We've
to
got them
change something.
broken out in different prices accordingly. But we would only start working on the areas we can work on that don't require the releases.
Makes sense.
I have no problem approving the whole package right
I
now.
don't have a problem either.
We're not gonna step foot on their property without the stuff signed. I mean, we know that. for sure.
Is there a contract that's associated with the, what's it called, clearing of the,
We had to do it
okay, is there one that comes along with that, y'all?
with, we'd have to
There will
write.
be one.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We start getting into those numbers.
there will be a contract.
Okay,
And we'll do one per job, actually,
Yeah,
per task. guess
Yeah, I
should
understand.
say. Yeah.
that's what I think that you should do.
So I'll say, approve up to 160,000, I'm just rounding that up.
We need to make a budget amendment
Right,
first.
oh, we have a budget amendment first, okay, make it a budget
And
amendment.
how much is engineering and how much is,
9,600 is engineering.
So we're making a budget amendment. For 9,600
For engineering.
for engineering
How much is our repair and maintenance?
and repair and maintenance.
I got 145, 100 if my math is right, but double check it.
140.
You wanna break it out by dry coat?
No, just
147.
I think it's
I could be
147.
147, 100.
147,
I can't
100.
read my own writing, it is,
Okay.
okay, so make a budget amendment,
To move
9,600.
156, 700 from fund balance to stormwater.
she's splitting it up.
No, you gotta
We
split it up.
split it,
Gotta split
that's
it
what
up.
we do.
The
Okay,
147, 100.
147,
I
100.
got 146 for
How can it be 146?
So what account you are?
them. If it's 156, did we say
Oh,
156?
no, 156, 700.
Oh, it's
Minus
156.
9,600 is how much?
Then it's different. then.
The 147 is right.
All right,
147, 100.
147, 100 from
Been confirmed.
stormwater, excuse me, from general fund to stormwater.
I'm worried about the 700.
Appropriate.
Appropriate, and then another, do I do separately or can we do them the
no,
same?
you can do it the same.
Okay, and then 9,600 from
Fund
fund
balance.
balance to stormwater for engineering costs.
Jim has made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Joe, second, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Any opposed?
All right, further, I make a motion to spend, can we combine them now? Or we gonna keep it separate?
You probably should say who you're spending how much with.
Told you.
Sheree, I'll let you say that and
Okay,
I'll,
Jim has made a motion to approve the expenses as denoted earlier in the quotes.
okay.
yeah, out of 100, totaling 156,700 from stormwater to the frost court pipe reroute and repair and clearing, channel clearing.
Y'all good with that motion? Sheree, sure. All those in, or second, is there a second?
Second.
Bruce, second, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else in stormwater?
Do we want to make a motion to send those homeowners a letter saying that, hey, we're gonna clean this out, we gotta keep it clean from now on?
I think it's a good idea.
I'll make that motion.
Stephen made a motion to notify the homeowners.
It's their responsibility once it's cleaned up.
Yeah, we gotta make sure they know it's their land,
No,
their
I'm not,
responsibility.
no argument.
I'll second it.
Bruce, second, any discussion? All those in favor signify, Mark, I thought you were about to say something.
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Were you in that?
But
No, I said aye.
Okay.
I seconded the motion, Sherry.
I mean, we got a little notice, their responsibility.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I don't get a letter, right? I'm not in that channel.
You want one?
I'm not in that channel. am I?
You want one?
You're right, whatever your land is right behind there,
Yeah, my fence is
it's
on the
on
line.
yours, so you're not on
Yeah,
that.
okay, so I can be, I don't have to be involved in it.
We can send you a letter to go with your water.
But if you want
Well,
to feel nice.
I was just saying, I shouldn't probably be involved in that motion if it was my property, but
No,
yeah, I'm not on that.
you're not on that.
It starts right after that.
Gentlemen, thank you.
I don't have much to report. Sheree and Lori and I met earlier in the month, or I guess it was right at the beginning of the month. We discussed all the events that we've had and some ideas. Just Lori was looking for feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. And Sheree gets feedback from the community. So we met, put it all on the table, came up with some good ideas going forward, including like the barricade stuff that you heard tonight. One of the things that has been constantly discussed are our Christmas decorations. And the lack of them and the age of them. I think they are mostly original to the village for the most part, and or are dying the ones that even the ones that are new, it just looks bad. So Park and Rec will have a discussion, but I think it will revolve around enhancing our Christmas decorations, maybe at least around the square here, maybe down Lake Park Road, I don't know, just something a little bit better than what we've got. The other thing that's brought up for quite a few years now is the condition of the Christmas tree. So Park and Rec will be discussing that tree. I know there's been some council input, some council discussion or comments that the tree's bad and it needs to go. I don't disagree with any of that. In fact, I worked the trade show last week and the gentleman was there who grows trees in North Carolina, provided a tree to the White House this year. And so I went over and talked to him, told him where we live and asked him what are our options to plant something? And he said a concolor fir will work here. No idea what it is. He doesn't sell them, but he's gave me some places that do sell them. So I don't know that. I mean, that's a big topic. Just so you know, we'll be discussing it. I don't know where it'll go. But if you have any comments on that, if you haven't talked to me, please let me know so I can talk about it at Park and Rec. Sure, anything I'm missing from that meeting or that?
No, sir, other than events continue to bring in more people, which is good. We've noticed that they're growing, so that says a lot, especially the Christmas tree lighting. The one thing, and I'm just gonna put this out, that I was thinking about the other day, it used to be years ago that they always did the Christmas tree judging the same weekend as the carriage rides and everything, so that it pushed people to have their Christmas lights out. And I noticed several people have told me the last couple of years when they do the carriage rides, that, you know, everyone doesn't have their houses decorated and all. And that's something when you go to McAdenville, I don't care who you are, everybody's got some lights stuck out of their house. So whatever the carriage route is, we need to encourage that they, you know, get their lights up and, you know, try to decorate.
And judge them early to have the sign.
And maybe that was the motivator.
Right, sure. All right. Our next meeting is January 27th. We'll start talking about the pools and events. Planning board.
Planning board, we didn't meet last month. Our next meeting's next Tuesday, January 21st.
Waste collection, Jim.
So I been doing a little bit of searching on their track system, and there's been, well, basically we have people still looking for carts and stuff, which we have 10. So far, January, we've had 10 items. I don't want to call them complaints, but 10 items. There's been one complaint of those 10, but 6 of those are for replacement of carts or a new cart for a new owner. A couple of those have been calling in saying, hey, we have yard waste that you can pick up for bulk. There was one complaint, and I can't get the information of the complaint, but I'll work on getting some of that information so we have it. But from January, like July, there were 44 of those were for carts. August, there were 85, 78 of those were for carts. You know, a lot of them, like some of them say, you know, about the backdoor pickup we have. Advance notice of bulks pickup. You know, those are the high numbers we had. December, there were 17, 10 of those were for carts. 4 of those were for people calling up and saying, hey, I got furniture, I have yard waste. So, I mean, they're coming in and they're getting a lot better now is what I'm coming at. So we're getting better.
I noticed they made an effort to put the trash cans out of the street. And they've done that very well.
It's good information. Thank you. Streets and sidewalk, Bruce.
Well, the concrete work is done on Conifer, but the resurfacing and blacktop is not gonna get done until the temperatures are released in the upper 40s to near 50. Otherwise, you can't really function with blacktop. So that's partially done. It's about 60% done.
Anything else?
That's all for now.
Lighting electric, Joe?
Well, we don't have too much on lighting and electrical. We made it through Christmas with no major problems on any electrical outlets. Everything worked good and, Henry did a good job with that, so we didn't have any problems there. The, clock tower's all back working good now too, and we had all our Christmas music on it, so we're good to go.
We had somebody email in, Sheree, I apologize, I'm not replied to your email a couple weeks ago about the angle of the tennis court lights. So Sheree suggested maybe we have, while the man that is here, to take down, you grab it one night, go over and check and then see if we need to adjust them while the man that is here.
When you say we, you mean you and I?
Most likely.
That's fine. I haven't heard that. I mean, do we need to adjust it? They've been up for what, 4 or 5 years now?
I honestly don't know. I mean, it was just something that I.
Is it a resident saying that they're going
Yes,
into
that
their
they
house or is it
play, no,
somebody
no,
can't
they
see?
say that the light's not.
It was.
It's not illuminating the courts as
Thank
well?
you,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
You know,
We can certainly look at that. Yeah.
That would be the time to do it.
That
I was
sounds
just
fun.
trying to think when we had a lift and
Sure.
so,
I'll give it a shot.
Will you reach out to Henry and find out when he
when
plans
he's,
to do
when he's
that?
thinking, I will.
Audit review.
Okay, we will be meeting next Monday. We have our biggest thing that we've been working on for a long time, parking ordinance, updating the parking ordinance. And I don't know if this will ever get done because I constantly get more suggestions to make changes in the parking ordinance. Do we want to discuss our ongoing issues that we have right now with that? That was our plan. We've got, 2 situations with it, people that have been receiving parking violations. These are just warnings. They haven't actually had a ticket that I know of. Is that correct, Sheree?
Yes, sir.
The 2. One of them, is a gentleman that lives on Sages. He is, works for a heating, air conditioning contractor and has recently changed companies he works for. The company that he worked for before had a smaller van and he had it parked out there and had several complaints about that van. But that van did not have a commercial tag. It was a standard sized vehicle. It didn't need a weighted tag, so it didn't fall under our terms that we had in our parking ordinance, so he could park it there. However, his newer company, he has a bigger van and it does have a commercial plate on it. And so we've asked him to move it and he has. Now, where he has moved it is, he said he lives on Sages and he has a garage behind his house and he has a very small parking, I'd call it, I guess, an apron that goes from his garage to the alleyway, and he's parking it there perpendicular. I've gone by 3 times to look to see if I can see it. It has not been there any of the times. However, I did run into the next door neighbor and I talked with her and asked her about it, and she told me the way that it's parked there is not a problem at all for her. It doesn't seem like it blocks anything or there's any problems. And I'm not quite sure where in our ordinance it prohibits that. I've looked through it to see, it does say you can't block a driveway, but I mean, are we considering that his driveway or?
Well, it is his driveway.
So he's parked, but I don't see anywhere in our ordinance that prohibits somebody from parking sideways in their driveway.
If they're not hanging off on the street, I guess.
It's not on the street, and from what I understand, like I said, I have not seen it. I've only talked with the resident that lived next door. And, she told me it's not in the road, it's parked right there, it's out of the way, and, she didn't have any problem with it, but, any problem passing it or blocking anything. So, I don't know that that's a problem that we really need to address or not. Is it, what are they citing on the
Well,
citations?
where they have been parking is on one of the parking spaces.
Mhm.
And
That's the only thing they got tickets.
that's what they've gotten the warning tickets for, is that the parking, if they are
Parking
parking
up front on Sages.
up front in a space.
And then we have another resident, an elderly resident that's having a parking problem too.
Yes,
And what exactly are they doing? Are they doing the same thing or?
she was not parked in first of all, it's 2 sisters that are both above 80, bless their hearts. So she goes to see her sister, and she's not pulling into the little midget driveway. She's kind of half on it and half in the alley. but she's handicapped, so because she can't park in the parking space up front and walk up the stairs. So, she received a warning citation, not to do that. And so right now, what she's having to do is get her daughter, who does not live with her, to come get her and take her over to see her sister and then pick her up and take her back, because she, of course, does not want to get a ticket. They both live here in Lake Park. I don't know, honestly, and so I suggested, not to her, but in the note that I sent to Joe, I suggested, could she park as much up in that driveway perpendicular as possible and hang her handicap, she's got a handicap sticker, and hang it? Are we gonna be okay with that? Because once we allow that for one, we're allowing that for, that has to be fair for everyone. Or do we tell her, I'm very sorry, you,
Yeah, and that kind of rose the question of should we change something in the ordinance to allow somebody with a handicap placard to park in a way inconsistent with what the rest of
yeah,
what it is, as long as traffic can still, all the other rules such as the
It's gotta have it for the fire truck to get through, right,
Yeah,
whatever that
yeah,
is.
large enough clearance to go through.
Still have 12 feet? on one side.
Well, I mean, you see people park all the time where there's no parking spaces in front of their houses,
Mhm,
and there's no marked parking spaces, right?
correct.
So what's any different than that?
Well, this is parking halfway on the alleyway, basically. She's still
Yeah.
partially
She's
into
still
that.
on
But it's
Yeah.
still, if the distance
But
is
it's just
there,
leaving
she
the
get
12
by,
foot.
then
but a lot of those, the alleys are tight. So the question is, are you going to, because right now, it's no parking in the alleys. So if you allow someone with a handicap, for example, your alley, if someone was,
people parking all the time. I don't have a problem for an elderly lady going to see her sister, and they're in the 80s, you know what I'm
I
saying?
agree, but
It's
what I'm
like, how do
saying
we
is I
fix it
can't just
for
say,
her?
I can't just say you're
I know.
special, because everyone's special.
I think it would come down to an amendment to the ordinance that basically says if you have a handicap placard, you can park inconsistent with the terms herein, if you want to just speak to the alley, as long as there's still 12-foot clearance or 6 foot, whatever the number is.
12.
It's up to the fire.
Then they got
For-
their walker out there with
for-
a measuring tape.
For a temporary time, and whatever that time is, 2
Yeah,
hours.
you're
4
right, for a
hours.
temporary time. It's just-
And also state in there if they're in violation, they'll receive a warning on first. Let them know what they can and can't do. I mean,
Or just call the cop to come pick you up and take you to your sister's house.
so-
And I'll say this too, because this was in the email that came out, that she goes to visit her, or check on her 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not it's not a.
Once
a
in a while,
rare
thing, it's
problem.
gonna
She's
happen.
doing what she has to do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So we'll
But
look into adding
but at the
that.
same time, I hear she's very concerned because she got a warning, right? I
Yes.
mean, a lot of people wouldn't even care.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know where she would have to use her handicap placard if she's just advised that she has to maintain. It's so,
Because if you don't make it something, you're gonna have everyone parking in
Yeah, if we
those
didn't
alleys.
designate it for handicap, then you could have everybody.
Yeah, then we just have parking in
when
the
you're
alley.
handicapped, everybody handicapped in the so it's 6 to 1 half a dozen.
So for right now,
Well, we
what can I tell her? Because she's calling me tomorrow.
tell her to park there, and then we're gonna work on the ordinance to get it,
Okay,
and,
You just let the deputies know that.
they tell the deputies to give her a little bit of
Give her a
leeway
break.
on that, and then we're gonna work on it, add it. The ordinance, we've already changed several things in the parking ordinance, we've, added the definition of alleyways to it, we've changed our 30-foot parking at intersection and, to say unless otherwise designated, since we have actual painted parking spaces in certain areas within 30 feet of the intersection.
Mhm.
So, we put that in there just to clarify that, and we've also changed our definition for commercial vehicle. So that we have it, basically following the state law from section 20 of what commercial vehicles are, so we have a definition of it in that. But we are not ready to propose it yet, because we're still gonna change the parking. Some more. We'll work on that next Monday.
So at this point, we're leaving the other situation.
No, we're gonna talk about buses.
The buses situation, yes. Now, that's a whole nother situation that we have with some commercial vehicles. that, you know, we're telling some people they can't park their commercial vehicles in the street, and Miss Dee Dee's bus, they're parking one of theirs right up front on the street.
Because they added a bus.
And then the other
They've got-
blocks of sidewalk.
They've got a lot of buses.
Yeah.
And it's, how can we tell one without telling them all? We're just gonna have to, you know, my opinion, and I don't think that we have anything that we really need to vote on this, because we basically just saying they're gonna have to conform to the ordinance we already have.
Okay.
Is that, I mean, does anybody disagree with me on that?
No, not at all.
Is there any reason they thought they shouldn't, in your communications with them, any reason they thought they shouldn't have to conform to the ordinance?
Well, there's several questions there. It was brought to the village's attention that there is a 15-minute parking space out in front that's supposed to be a drop-off that has faded out tremendously, and honestly, we need to remark that. I think the village should pay to remark that as opposed to having a business marking. We did that when we did the 15-minute parking down here for the Mexican restaurant, which at that time was a coffee shop.
And originally painted that to begin with.
Yes.
I asked that question.
Yes, and that was originally painted. There's also, if you're looking at Miss Dee Dee's, so you've got regular spaces, you have the 15-minute zone. And then the bus, which should not be parked there. And then there should be a no parking to the corner. Because you've got vehicles coming out from Margaret Court. You also have people, and it will be an education piece for responsibility of the business to notify its parents not to double park in that alley and drop their kids off. So maybe if you had, if you've got the no parking zone plainly marked and you do it to, or not, you have the 15-minute plainly marked to the no parking zone, that should be plenty. I've not noticed that there's that many people dropping at one point to where, the bus takes up 3 parking spaces. 2.5. The village does not own that egress to Margaret Court. That is owned by a townhome association, owned by the Town Center HOA that does not exist. Just like the one between the condos and the Mexican restaurant is owned by that association.
Which just means we got no say-so in that piece of,
In the parking, in that blacktop,
Yeah.
the parking of, it's one thing to park 4 buses, but then they have a bus that they're parking in the back in their parking lot, and now they've got one on the street. I'm sorry, I don't think that you could put that many kids, that you filled up all those vehicles in that building.
Bruce, will you work with Carolina to get it restriped?
It's not a problem. Wait till the weather's a little warmer.
Sure, yeah. And they can do it.
Gotta get some other areas done anyhow, starting to fade out.
And Jeremy and I need to go visit the business.
And they just purchased that last bus, like 2 months ago, came in on a flatbed,
Okay,
so.
all I know is there's 6 over there now, and there's only 4 parking places in the egress. Now they've got one in the back. They need to rent them a storage place, because there's no way they're using 6 buses.
I originally thought when I seen the one coming in on the flatbed that they were gonna replace
One,
an older bus, but nothing went out on the flatbed, so.
no, and everything is currently tagged.
Yeah.
Because I walked around and checked the,
Mhm.
But has there been any correspondence with them about them parking there?
no, since it is the oldest business in Lake Park.
All right, thank you, Judge.
No.
Technology?
All right, on to technology, the credit cards that we approved last month for the village in general, but you know, the main reason why we did it was for pool passes. So that we can have a credit card reader out at the pool deck. Now, we have two different options of what we can do as far as the reader goes. We can rent one for the 5 months of the year, or we could just go straight out and purchase one for $491. I'm sorry.
You gotta have both. No, you gotta have the terminal that goes to the pool
Well, correct.
regardless.
Right, and that would be, we would rent it for 5 years or for 5 months.
It's a
out of
totally
the year.
different piece of equipment than the,
Than the one that you did have. Oh, okay, I misunderstood you on this too
Yeah,
then.
okay, that's,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's
But that's the $49 a month fee for the Bluetooth,
terminal.
the terminal, the Bluetooth terminal is the $49 a month fee. Then that changes what I was gonna say with you then. Okay, so basically, right now, when they process a credit card in the office for anything from the fishing license to was paying taxes but not anymore.
Zoning
To
permits
zoning
or-
permits or anything, any credit card process is now entered manually and through the internet.
No, we have a swipe,
You have a swiper for that,
yes,
but
but
we
we have
will
to
be
do
able
that.
to mount, to enter it in manually from the internet for no charge for a terminal, or we could add a terminal that they use in the office for $491.
one-time charge.
That's a one-time fee for that. Do we want to do that, or just want to have them just enter them in manually?
And who enters it in?
It would be either Sarah or I.
Okay, and Ken, I would ask if you would investigate that for me, because I have heard that you are subject to some special rules if you're getting credit card information like that. What do
a lot of
what do
things.
we need to do?
The information that you're
I think it-
requiring in regards to safekeeping it.
Yeah, whatever.
I think I'll get old carbon copy machine.
Yeah, we get the little
But
slider.
if you go the route of
If we just go the route of purchasing a machine for $491, we have it. Credit cards have gone to the point where they like it where they keep that out of the merchant's hand. Have it all to the user. And, you know, with the terminal, you hand them to the terminal, they put the card in, and you don't have any access to the numbers, there's no questions about it or anything, you know, you're not supposed to write the number down, but, you know, things happen when you do that, and who knows what. It relieves us of a lot of liability, and then, you know, like I said, the same problem there, so I'm gonna recommend going ahead and purchase the terminal for $491, and then we'll also have the separate terminal, the Bluetooth terminal for the pool to use for 5 months of the year, and that's Bluetooth that works with the internet connection for them to have right there to use. Again, that's another terminal where you just hand it to the customer and they use, they insert the card, or probably just tap their card on it now, so.
Agreed. Makes sense to get
So,
Are you making a motion for that, or?
well, it's $491, so we can spend it, but we can make a motion for it. Where would we pull the money for this? Office supplies,
Oh, I thought technology.
stormwater? Stormwater's already out of my mind.
Parks and Rec.
Technology sounds.
I thought it was technology.
I mean, I haven't used any of my technology budget. Did I have 500 or 1,000? I can't even remember.
I'm
I
not, I'm sure.
think I had 1,000 on that. We'll go ahead and use, just pull it out of technology if I need something else. we'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
$491 in technology.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'll make the motion to spend $491 to Heartland for a credit card processing machine.
I'll second it.
and to enter into the contract with them.
I thought we entered into the contract with them last month.
No,
We didn't make a motion to that? Okay,
we're not in contract.
okay, so then well, do we want to do it all in one motion or two separate?
You only
things?
have a budget of $500.
Okay.
So I got $9 left, thanks.
Okay, and then charge the other one to pull.
Yeah, the rental fee for the terminal. out
The
there.
rental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, I will make the motion to spend $491 from technology to Heartland for the credit card processing machine. In addition, it would also include entering into the contract with Heartland to process our credit cards for the fees that are listed. And these fees would also be paid for by the consumer. They'll be added on to the purchase price.
Mhm.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Chris made a motion, Jim second, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Right. I spoke to everybody about video editing software because I was having problems editing the videos. does not seem as if the software is the problem as much as it is the hardware. So I'm just gonna be using a different process to do that. So we do not need to do anything with video editing software. It's just not gonna be needed for this. I did happen to notice on the financial statement that we have a credit card charge for $12.99 to Zoom. Do we still have a Zoom account?
I think it's really not Zoom, it's Adobe.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Okay,
what
so-
that is. That's the Adobe,
Adobe.
that allows me to convert documents.
Okay, then
Yeah.
nothing to worry about. I'm done with technology then.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right.
Special project updates, the land, Sheree was in.
So Doug Alice sent me the following information as of January 8th. NCDOT, they're still awaiting approval of comments on the 11/13/24 submittal to the hydrology department based on the history of the review cycles. We should have an answer within the next 30 days. Public Works, as of 1/8/25, they received comments on Monday, January the 6th, from Union County Public Works, and the comments have been addressed and resubmitted as of 1/8/25. This should be a short review. They've asked for a couple of utility easements to be changed. Lake Park, they submitted and asked for a review from Eagle for the village on November 18th. And it is in the review, but they're waiting. So.
Discussion on the public comment policy. This was on the agenda last month and we pushed it to this month. This policy that Sheree had sent out with the last month's packet, it was a question as to need a little bit more time to look at it, so. Any questions or comments on that?
I see you got your timer there.
I do.
Since I was the one that wanted to table it last month, so I didn't have time to look at it, I'm okay with everything.
Same here, I have no issues with it.
So I just have one question. Is this going to be posted so when everyone sees it when they come in?
We've never posted a policy, but we will we'll put it on the website.
All right, I just,
Yeah.
because it talks about them coming in, talking about public comment, so I just wanted to.
An educational piece can be used by the newsletter.
Yeah, and we
Maybe-
can blast it out.
Maybe put a copy out there where they have to sign up,
Yeah, it can be
you
out
know,
there.
for a few months anyways.
Well, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought you
Yeah.
wanted it on the wall.
Oh, no.
You said
no,
post it, I'm
just
thinking.
Post it out there at the beginning of the meeting. coming
Oh.
in.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a problem having a few flyers there at the sign up sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be
that's
open with that.
All right, is there a motion to approve the public forum policy?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Joe's made a motion, Bruce seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Discussion on the nuisance abatement statute. Joe had asked for that to be added, and Sheree printed some stuff that you got before you. From the League of Municipalities, School Government and whatnot, so. Right over you, Joe.
Well, you know, at our last meeting, we had a little bit of talking about different situations, and it led into talking about abatement for public nuisances. And we may have a few situations this might be useful for us. I'm just opening the conversation up right now. I'm not saying, hey, let's start this process right now, but you know, there's, I don't want to go into specifics, but you know, there's a couple residents that complain immensely of one particular resident, and I've had so many people complain to me about the appearance and walking by that it looks like a junkyard. And I mean, we very well may owe it to our residents to start looking into doing something serious about this resident. I can't see how the place is not a public health hazard. There's you know, a pile of mulch that's got to have mold from a year ago on it. I mean, I don't know, how long has that mulch been there, you know? I mean, it's a huge
A
pile of
long
mulch.
time.
I mean, it's nothing but garbage in the front yard, the backyard. From what you can see, you can't see much because there's foliage growing up around everything now. Which again, you know, there's several things, but what I would like to ask people to do, or everybody in the council to do, is look through these documents. I was gonna send out links, and I still will if you'd like, but I'm sure who's nice enough to print them out. There's two articles here. One's What a Mess and What a Mess Part 2. They go through the differences between you're dealing with issues from abatement as opposed to writing an ordinance for it yourself, and what you might feel is a one-off, or do we need to start addressing this differently as an ordinance, which is a possibility in itself. I don't know that all those situations are everything that needs to be drawn out, but I think a lot of them very clearly do constitute a public health hazard and a nuisance. I mean, it very well may just be a nuisance from the sheer fact of the amount of complaints that we get. I don't think there's a single one of us that haven't had somebody complain to them about it. And I think it's about time to start doing something with it.
I won't argue the point with you, but you know you're gonna have nothing but aggravation and grief from this individual.
I'm sure of that.
Right down to trying to preach psalm and verse of law and take you to court. And I don't disagree that we shouldn't do it, but just realize it's gonna
Yes.
become a real.
I know it's gonna be, I know it's gonna, you know, your eyes are popping open on me, but, you know, again, I'm not saying let's just start this right now. I'm gonna start looking into it and see what we can do and see if there's something that's feasible for us. I mean, I know it's harsh terms, but, you know, hopefully it helps clean it up, you know, I don't wanna.
He's not the normal individual, that we all know. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just bringing up the obvious.
Can I add a little, just?
Oh, absolutely, that's what I wanted, I want your input on all this.
So what I would encourage you to do leading up to the next meeting or two, is review those posts. And I think the two things right now I would say about it are, A, those posts make clear that even if you're gonna utilize the 160A, I think it's 193 statute for summary abatement, you still need to pay close attention to ensuring due process for the individual. Notice, an opportunity to be heard, and some opportunity to correct the problem that you want to summarily abate, or you can run into a problem potentially. The other thing is that's kind of back end. Front end is, I think of it a little bit like establishing, you know, elements of a certain legal claim, and you need to be able to establish that this location, whichever one you're dealing with, in any individual circumstance, would potentially meet the definition of being a public nuisance. 168, 193, which is, I think, why this has been brought to your attention, specifically addresses swimming pools. It specifically does that, but it doesn't address other individual circumstantial dynamics. And so you would want to be able to, I think, in noticing someone about the existence of a public nuisance in the context of abating it, that you bullet point for them what the problems are and why they constitute a public nuisance, so that you're kind of grounding yourself with what you can do to be able to establish it. Because I can see people in my profession, if it was litigated, trying to take advantage of what they would deem to be a failure to be able to establish it as a public nuisance. And I think that probably comes from some independent source, whether that's you asking somebody from the county health department to come down here, or some other county arm to be able to offer you some opinion that you can then rely upon for purposes of asserting that the nuisance exists. We just got to make sure we're doing that and giving them due process with it. One of the things that comes to my attention with those articles that you have, and some of them are a little dated, and it's because this doesn't come up that often, is that when they talk about summarily abating it, I say to myself, well, wait a second, what if the nuisance exists on the property? Can you literally go on to properly and summarily abate it without exposing yourself to certain potential liability, whether that's criminal law liability or civil law liability, by doing that. And that's never really particularly addressed in those articles, and that's something I want to think about too. But I think there's a little bit to digest. I think you potentially can use it. Just kind of, it's circumstantially dependent, and we want to make sure that we're noticing them, give them a chance to be heard, give them a chance to deal with it themselves.
That's great advice on that. And yeah, I did look into it and farther from what, from looking at the
Yeah,
articles,
right,
and
right.
yes, there's a lot of ambiguity to it.
There is, those articles will tell you the ambiguity, it talks about using the police power ordinance statute. And there's even, that articles make clear, there's even probably some form of disagreement as to whether or not under that particular mechanism for abatement, whether you can summarily abate or not, have to go to court and obtain a court order for abatement purposes. And so it's a fairly cloudy issue, except I think then maybe when it comes to pools.
The pools expels it at 100%.
That was, they don't want people drowning, right? And so it's a very evident one that I think could very early on and very quickly be established to be a public nuisance if it's not properly maintained. It's not protecting the public from accessing it in a way they wouldn't be aware of, and other sordid possibilities with one.
And there's a few other ones that spell it out too, if you go through through 160A, abandoned automobile being one.
Right.
Which, it does spell out a whole lot better, and does give you guidelines on that.
One of the things that I would mention to you, Joe, and you may be a step ahead of me with this, is I responded with these articles in a little bit of a delayed fashion. And the reason was, several years ago, the legislature almost completely repealed all of 160A. And I had trouble finding, and that's because of my technological limitations, I had trouble finding 193 in terms of it still being in existence. So be aware, some of these that you may hit upon may have been repealed. I'm not sure. But we would want to look at them on an individual basis.
On another note that I'll at least put in, I asked Vaughn when I had him on the phone the other day, about abating a piece of property, and Wesley Chapel has abated successfully 5 or 6 properties.
In terms of them, Corinne, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but in terms of them having a circumstance that was defined within their UDO as equaling a public nuisance per se. Yeah, it's another way to attack it.
But he did say that what they had done is the council had provided a X amount of dollars. And, once they went through the process, that the liens had been, of course, recorded to the Register of Deeds. And it takes the same priority as a tax lien, which means it's paid when the property sells. But you do have to be prepared, and one of the questions would be, so you abate it, it's now 6 months down the road, and it's as bad or worse than it was 6 months ago. Are you going to put more money in and put another lien?
Can we eventually foreclose on those liens? As I understood, Tosca, you can
That
foreclose on those liens.
Vaughn had not gotten that far, and I honestly did not get that far into the conversation, because at that point, we just didn't go that far. I was going to talk to
Yeah, I'm
Kim.
not sure. I think there's something, if I remember correctly, there's some language in the 193 statute that talks about the priority of the lien that is established, and perhaps makes it secondary to others that may have been recorded or in existence. I'm not 100% sure, and that secondary nature of it might make it potentially limited in regards to foreclosure possibilities. I'm not sure.
When I was there at Wesley Chapel, we talked about some of this, and the properties that tended to have the problems were not our higher value homes, and they seemed to have a lot of liens and things on the properties. So the assumption at that point really was you probably will never be able to get any money out of it.
Just so we get in line, huh?
When when those were cleaned up, did they go back to, how
When I
much
was
abatement
there-
was done? Was it
When I
complete?
was there, we didn't clean it up.
This is recent, this has been in the last 6 months, so I would say questions, if you know a councilman over there, they are
Well, and
councilmen.
that was the question that, at that point, in particular, I remember there was particularly one council person who was just like, I don't wanna throw more money at it and we'll never get it back. So,
Is George Sistrunk still representing them as far as you know?
George Sistrunk, yes, yeah, I think so. So, yeah, it's a hard situation, and yeah, they can. There seem to be certain people who are, I don't know if they're hoarders or they're junk dealers or whatever, but they continually bring in more junk. You get some junk out and you get more junk in.
I mean, it doesn't, I mean, look, you guys realize this, it doesn't take but one decent inheritance to create a purchase of a, you know, residence that's on maybe not the high-end scale of monetary expenditure to the wrong people, and it can deteriorate pretty darn quickly, pretty fast. And the remedies for that do have limitations, but not trying to do something about it, it's another story. You have to weigh what
Yeah.
Cheryl was talking about. It's just, it's what you hear out of us all the time, which is, what's the cost benefit analysis of doing something. That's ultimately what it boils down to.
Yeah, so you'll still be looking, everybody, check, read the article, see what you think, and we'll.
Feel free to email me, you know, if you have any questions that you think I can answer.
You can email me stuff.
Yeah.
You'll check with his lawyer.
I'm planning, I've got a note too. We'll see if if it tickles me enough. I plan for it too. I hope it will.
I'll bug you.
Yeah.
Anything else, Jeff?
No, that's it. I just wanted to bring that one, put that in everybody's ear. I will send out too, I'll send you the links. You know, Steve asked for us, go ahead and send all the links out there so you have it there.
Mark?
Well, the annual Lake Park Master HOA Association had their annual meeting last month. And probably only about 10% of the proxies showed up out of the whole community. So they did not hold their elections. They're gonna hold their elections this coming Thursday, and basically the association itself will pick whoever they want for the different positions. And let's see, and pretty much Lori was in here early telling you about the next year, or this coming year's events. Other than that, also, if anybody is to contact the Master HOA for questions or comments or complaints or whatever, the website they prefer you to use is community support, one word, at Cusick Company spelled out, .com.
Can you send me that? Can you please send me that? We'll change it on the website.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because right now we have an individual and it goes directly to the property manager, which I don't know why it wouldn't, but
All right.
okay.
All right. Newsletter, info?
That's it for me. Anybody got anything they want in the newsletter?
Looks like you need to put another comment about burning leaves, huh?
Yeah. There should be no burning of leaves.
Yeah,
Burning leaves.
it's that time of year.
And of course, it's time to buy your new fishing permit again.
Again.
And
I think with the leaves though, we ought to put out there how many bags they pick up each week.
That is a common question.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, there was an individual on Crab, he had it so neat, I almost wanted to go pick some up and bring them to my house. He
Yeah,
had
the
it so
one guy
neat out
says,
there.
how many were they? They left 4 of them. I said, you know.
He got
too many.
15, yeah.
Yeah.
He had them so neatly lined up and everything, and I was like, man, I know they're not gonna get all those.
I even drove by one the other day and I'm sitting there going, I even pulled over, stopped and went, ooh, he's gonna have 3 left.
Yeah. So it's like, take them to your neighbors.
when you,
Yeah,
when you
just give us
see
your neighbor's
something
line.
like that, if you'll let us know, depending on what's around, we can send a request for them to pick up, because they picked up 45 bags for me at one house earlier this year.
Yeah.
So there is some flexibility if we can let the driver know we're anticipating this and, you know, what's around. They should have room. You know, it's one thing if every house has 15, but it's
Yeah.
something else if, you know, 3 houses don't have anything and all.
That's
They're
good
not-
to put in there, let notify if they have more. 'Cause
Yeah. Because there's certainly work, you know, they want to work with us and they want it to look nice when they leave as much as we want it to look nice.
Not to change the subject, but did we have any clarification with that gentleman that was burning down the house and leaves?
I don't know.
You
what you're
know,
talking about.
there was a, on a,
Oh, yeah, there was a post.
on a Sunday, somebody had a big old fire of leaves, somebody was videoing it. And apparently they had words and they were asking who they, what to do to contact it. And this gentleman had a pile of fire.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was probably 5 foot from a house and he was
Yeah,
just raking the
in the
leaves
house,
right
yeah.
into it.
That's when,
Wasn't Roger,
one of the, if one of our people were on,
Yeah, that's a county.
It's county ordinance.
Yeah, it's a county
Yeah.
ordinance. on
it's a
that.
state ordinance also when you have,
Trash.
trash every
And that is in
weekend.
160, I read that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, I told her to call the police.
And so, but
Can't you call the fire department for that?
they tend not to respond to,
They'll
well,
respond,
they'll
they'll
come,
come
but
out.
they,
They can't enforce the ordinance, they
Right.
can make them put the fire out.
But they don't want a fire, you know?
Right.
yeah.
All right, any other newsletter information, shoot it over tomorrow.
Okay.
Anything else, I just say shoot you an email.
Yeah.
If anybody's got anything. I think
All right.
so.
That's it.
Council comments, Joe?
Cheryl, Jeremy already thanked you for doing that extra work on that and, I want to say good job on that too. That really worked out well. And that's what's good. When we don't agree with stuff, we have conversation and sometimes it makes everything work out better. And that was a $51,000 question right there. So that worked out great. Good job on that.
Thank
Mark, your family's in our prayers.
Thank you.
Mark?
Basically, I want to thank everybody for the flowers that you guys sent and the card. It's fantastic. Thank you very much for your thoughts and your prayers on that. Very much appreciated.
Steve?
Echo what Joe said. Thank you, Cheryl. That was a great catch. And, Mark, you are in our thoughts and prayers on.
Jim?
Yeah, echoes again, Steve and Joe, what they're saying, thank you, and yes, you're the best and prayers.
Bruce?
same echoes, Cheryl, thank you, Mark, sympathies, thinking about you.
Thanks.
That's all I got.
Kim? Sheree?
I have one thing, I would like to, ask that, council approve $400 out of the training budget for us to, send Sarah to get her notary. It's an 8-hour class. It can be taken at, the Levine campus. And it's just one step closer to something that she needs, for the future.
A motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Is the course fee is 400?
Everything.
Okay, but like her salary, it has to come out of her salary.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just am saying for the training.
Yeah, I knew you had asked me
Yeah.
about.
I've looked at those classes before. They're on a Saturday when I looked at
They also have, this one's a Tuesday,
Okay.
8 to 5. They tend to teach most of them on on the weekend, but this one is a work day.
Mark made a motion, Jim second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Thank you all very
Do you
much.
have
I
enough in the
appreciate it.
training? Is enough in the training budget?
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of training.
Sure.
No.
I would just
Oh,
like to
and
thank
thank you for coming tonight. It's great to see people come.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyable.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I would just like to thank everybody again, as I do everyone, for your hard work. Spent a lot of money tonight, but I think it was in due regard to what the village needs, and I think it should help set the village future in a better place than we found it. I really do think that it will. So, anyway, thank you all. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
So.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.